If I'm not going, don't go. I know we were treated to a very sumptuous meal yesterday, and we all enjoyed. I enjoyed to my maximum, and I had to leave early. I know somebody was looking for me. Yeah, she has told me. Now I've already told you. Allow me to start by thanking Bwana Kirwa for that elaborate kind of introduction. I was asking Dr. Ngubito why they left my CV in the brochure. And actually, I think it is an oversight. But you know what? It's only a friend who can forget to introduce you. And that's how you know who is your friend. Let me start from somewhere and ask a question that I would like you to carry with you throughout my presentation. And this is a question that was asked many years ago by one professional scholar called Samuel Huntington. For those who have read, there's a book by this gentleman called The State and the Soldier. The Soldier and the State, sorry. And he asked, who guards the guardian? You guys are guardians of people. You are guardians of institutions of parliament. But who guards you? Ask yourself that question. Don't answer me. And if you want us to discuss that, if you have time, we'll come back to it. So allow me to start the presentation by telling you where I'm coming from. I know we have talked about National Defense University. You have heard the name, but maybe we don't know much about National Defense University. So I'll take just a little time to talk about National Defense University. How do I move my technology? Oh, I have to click here. Go back. Yeah. Now, National Defense University is a charter degree awarding institution. It was awarded charter in 2021 by His Excellency, former Honorable Muigai Kenyatta, and it is headquartered in Nakuru. That is our headquarters. It is mandated as a specialized, and it was the first specialized higher education university dealing with matters of defense, security, and strategy. And this university looks at integrating theory and practice. That's why its students are special. Allow me to use the word special. Now, we have several colleges, and also we have been so lucky that, I don't know whether the doctor from NIRU is here? National Intelligence Research University. National Defense Intelligence University was one of our colleges that, you know, we gave birth to. However, we have National Defense College, you have heard about it, in Karen, which deals with security studies, you know, matters of security, strategy, and policy. We have Joint Command and Staff College, still in Karen, that deals with issues of defense and strategic studies. This is more of an operational college because it deals with matters of war. It is a mid-level, we normally call it a mid-level college, where our students are between the age of 10 years in service up to 20 years in service. So it tells you this is a guy who has a lot of experience in the military affairs. Then we have Kenya Military Academy, This is the cadet school, as we have heard of it, in Nakuru. And that is the reason why the headquarters, that is the seat, is in Lanet, because it carries majority of our students. At any sitting, they are close to 1,000. It deals with issues of defense and security standards at foundational level, because they have to undergo the basic degree, that's a bachelor's, and they take 3 years, different from the other groups, because they are resident. Then we have International Peace Support Training Center, you have heard about it, which deals with all the courses of peacekeeping aspects. Crisis and disaster management. In this college, we have a PhD, and this is the only PhD that has started, actually, as we are talking about. National Defense College, the PhD on national security, it is going to start, I believe, in around July there, this year. Then we have Defense Forces Technical College, which is an engineering and technical college for all our engineering. You know, call it maritime, call it aeronautical, mechanical, you know, electrical, ICT guys. This is a college. Then we have Defense College of Health Sciences. It is here in Memorial, and it is the one that deals with all the sciences of health, you know, nursing and everything. Then we have Defense Intelligence Academy. Now that NIRU broke off and became a university, we have one that we have brought on board. It has not actually started. It is also going to start in July, and this is intelligent. This is a Defense Intelligence Academy, DIA, which was School of Military Intelligence. This is where I grew, actually. You know, most of my stay in the forces, it was in the intelligence, and this is where I stayed most, here in Embakasi. It deals with matters of intelligence and research. Now, one which is not here is the Police Academy. Negotiations and collaborations are going on as we are talking. They want to be part and parcel of NUK, and actually it's on the final stage very soon as we start the year, the financial year, that is in July, very likely. Now, what do we offer? We offer doctoral degrees. Now, there are these two, one in IPSTC and one in ADC. The one in ADC has not yet started. It is supposed to start in July, as I said. Then we have master's degrees in national security and strategy, defense and strategic studies, you know, NDC, JCSC, then IPSTC and DIA, that is Defense Intelligence Academy. Then the undergraduate diploma and BSc, that is undergraduate and diploma, that is BSc and diploma and postgraduate diplomas, offered by KMA, DCHS, ICT, that is not ICT, DEFTEC and DCHS. They overhaul this. Now, again, we have strategic courses. These are capstone courses on strategic environment, on matters of security. We have been lecturing to our parliamentarian, mostly through NDC. So that is our college, that is our university. Now, who is the chancellor? The chancellor of our university is none other than the end of state. It started with the previous president, and today we have His Excellency Dr. William Samuel Ruto as our Chancellor. And it is in continuity. Being an institution of strategic importance in the country, then we found it okay that the President will be the Chancellor. Actually, in one of the clauses, he is not, the President or the Chancellor is not supposed to miss any graduation. And if he misses, it cannot be derogated. So if you become a student, be assured you'll shake the hand of the President. The university has a university council. If you see on the guy seated there, and the chair of the university council is none other than the Chief of Defense Forces. We have the service commanders, because this is where our students and participants are coming from. Then we have experts. We have professors and practitioners in that board. The Vice Chancellor, you see the guy there on the rightmost picture where we are doing graduation. The Vice Chancellor is the secretary to the University Council. Now, currently, we have Lieutenant General David Tarus, who is our Vice Chancellor. Then we have our staff and students. That photo there depicts our graduation. Doesn't it look good, really? Thank you very much. That's all about the university. If you have a question, we'll talk at the end. So allow me to go to the business of the day on issues of strategic importance of Parliament in national security theater. What I will do is that, so that we have more time for the panelists, I will not dwell on most of the issues that I believe you know and I had them talked about yesterday. So what I will do is I will skip some of the issues that you know, but I will just highlight them. So, the strategic importance of Parliament in national security theater is anchored in our constitution. That is the legal framework, the basic legal framework. And as we heard yesterday, based on the article that I portrayed there, the national security organ are subject to parliamentary authority. And the Parliament has powers, has powers over the security organs. Now, on county assemblies, the County Government Act 2012 grounds the county development functions addressing structural drivers of insecurity, particularly confronting emerging security threats related to competition exacerbated by climate change. Remember, we have had guys from, the northern part of the country, when they are hit by drought, they bring their livestock all the way to the coast and to part of eastern, lower eastern. And we have had issues there, but it is the counties that normally mitigate these issues. So more or less, the legislative or the National Assembly exercises formal powers in that case. Allow me again to say that the County Policing Authority is the formal mechanism linking the county governance to security operations. Now, when county assembly members participate in these authorities, they bring community perspective to security planning. More importantly, county assemblies control budget for basic services. Okay? So research has showed that insecurities often emerge where governance fails. And I'll give you a case example outside our country. You have heard of a country called Mozambique. Have you heard of Mozambique? Mozambique is on the east coast of Africa. It has one of the longest coastlines. Mozambique is a very rich country, but one of its northern allow me to call it province, called Cabo Delgado. Cabo Delgado was marginalized since independence. And it did not get independence a long time ago. But what happened? Degraded to poverty and, insecurity. Al-Shabaab we talk about in Somalia, Tanzania, without awareness of the government. Because there are no infrastructures, there are no government institutions, public amenities unfailed. This place, nobody knew about it in the government. So for years, more than 15 years, the county was, the region was, like a jungle. So what happened is that when these international multinationals came to explore for resources in Mozambique, this was the richest part of Mozambique. Offshore oils and gases and inland minerals. The soil is so fertile and the area is so endowed with mineral resources. But no government official could enter there. To seeking for help from other African countries. One of the countries to take soldiers there was Rwanda. You have heard Rwanda have been Mozambique for quite a long time. Now they are discussing of withdrawing them because they cannot be able to support them. And actually they are not being supported by the international community. SADC moved their soldiers there. They could not be able to enter, They returned them. But they reorganized themselves once more and they have taken back the... Now, strategic importance of parliament in national security data. Now, allow me to elaborate that a little bit. When parliament debates, amends, and approves security legislation, it confers legitimacy that enhances public cooperation with security agencies and reduces resistance to security measures. Now, national security policy, how is it formulated? Remember, members of parliament come from different parts are very different from North Rift, are very different from the Mandera, are very different from Nyeri, are very different from Nairobi. But because of that representation on the floor of the House, each brings all those insecurity aspects that needs to be mitigated on the floor of the House. So each and every part of the country is represented when formulating the national security policy. Now, I believe most of these other issues you understand, but allow me to talk about strategic communication just a little bit, where we look at how the parliament communicates most of the debates, most of the issues, to the society. We have a lot of hearing of whatever is happening in the parliament to the society. We have communication of the government. That dispels fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. And it is of quite importance. Now, Parliament is the guardian of democracy, security. We know the constitutional oversight of the Parliament, and here we are looking at the aspect, the mechanism itself is through departmental committees, which I believe you know very well, and it functions through vetting appointees like the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of NIS, investigating human rights violations by security agencies. Mainly we have heard about internal. Do you know that the Parliament has got the powers to investigate the KDF peacekeepers when they are outside? Are you aware? It's because it has not happened to us because of, allow me to brag a little bit and say because of professionalism. It was mentioned yesterday by the Speaker Emeritus, David Eduro, and it was, I believe it was mentioned by the CS. We have to be proud about that. Personally, I've also to be proud about that. Most of the militaries, ask me, I've been in these missions. Most of the militaries that go and conduct themselves in a manner that does not carry any decorum, they are investigated by the UN and by their national government. And the Parliament actually oversights that. Thank God we have not degraded to that level. However, we know the Attorney General, is it the Attorney General or the what do you call him? The DPP, the Director of Public, is investigating the issues of police and the agency issues. Those are some of the constitutional mandate of the Parliament. Now, we know about the fiscal policy, that the Parliament has oversight on that. Then we have the aspect of balancing secrecy with accountability. Some of the salient issues here I can mention is where the security organ enforces national security to classify information. So more or less, you don't want to be audited, but you classify it as national security. It is the Parliament that comes on board and says that can be classified as national, something like that. And that's why we have the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and, can't remember, Defense and Foreign Relations, yes. Therefore, the main role of the Parliament there is to balance the need for classified briefing against the public's right to know how security agencies operate. Remember Operation Linda Inji? For those who can remember very well, during Kibaki time, they went to Somalia. Did they have the parliamentary approval? Did they? What happened? There was a discussion, and a big one. They had to come back, or they had to take the matters to the floor of the House for approval. What about the police? Contingent to Haiti. What happened? Did it have the parliamentary approval? Are you sure? It tends to come back also. So that shows you the aspect of accountability of how the parliament ensures that the security organs follow the rule of law. Now, on emerging and evolving security threats facing legislative institutions, here we are looking at core challenges, and we are looking at the aspect where the legislative security has moved beyond traditional perimeter fence. Not only looking at the issue of physical security not going away, we have now lumped in the issue of digital and information warfare. We have had the attack on parliamentary emails in 2025 where they woke up and they found somebody has got 1 million emails in your account. What do you do if you have 1 million emails? They are flooded. You cannot be able to access your information. So these are some of the issues. Now, the 3 dimensions that I would like to talk about, as I've said, the security of our parliament is no longer just about wars and guards, as we have seen in the last year. The threats are now 3-dimensional. We face a convergence of physical breaches. If you think about the 25th June 2024, digital attacks on our systems and information war that seeks to undermine the very fabric of legislative discourse. So when you look at this aspects and how they have been manifested, then even examples are there. We need to rethink about how to manage security of our registration institutions. And therefore, our security framework must evolve to meet all 3 dimensions simultaneously. Now, the key vulnerability is exposed by this. Now, look at where our national parliament and the Senate houses are located. And look at, these houses were built during colonial time. And look at the growth of Nairobi as a city and a capital city. Right now, we have a whole expressway that passes right on the nose of the parliament, and you guys are supposed to you're supposed to secure that building. I was asking somebody yesterday, do we build a big wall that will separate us from the expressway, or what happened? Assuming somebody who is driving, and people drive very fast up there, just decide to throw something, it will come right inside where you are. what happens? Have you ever thought about it? So as we think about physical security, let's look at the emerging environment, how it has impacted on that physical security of the institution. Now, I'm using the Parliament and the Senate because I'm very conversant with them. But what about the counties where you are coming from? I know in Madeira they have built a very new house that houses the county assembly, which is very easy to man. Anybody from Madeira here? Somebody from Madeira? Oh, yes. A very nice building. Well, you know, very far from the town. But the town has started now growing towards, exactly. So, simply, what is going to happen when the rich guys come from wherever they are and they come and build skyscrapers next to the, you know? These are the issues. Other counties, think about your area. If you look at the Gen Z problem, the Gen Z protest had no leader. Nobody to negotiate with. Nobody to mediate with. Nobody to corroborate issues with. But here they are. In your county, how prepared are you physically on aspects of defense? Now, digital infrastructure. Yesterday it was talked about, so I'll not belabor on this. And then the aspect of pre-election threats multiplier, where we have heightened political activities and the spread of disinformation. And actually they come right into where you are guarding. So think about them and how some of the elements can exploit those political aspects. We have seen MPs fighting in the compounds of the parliament. How do you react to that? What if their security is running and these are security, they are not police? What happens? Do you have the mandate to arrest them? And maybe the police are not near. We need to think about that. I'm putting those questions because there's something I want us to think about. So please carry them with you as I put them across to you. Now, what is the required response to this? We need a comprehensive security paradigm. We need to recognize that threats, disinformation, and borderless cybercrime are real, and they're here with us. So we must think. The implication here is that the sergeant at arms needs an integrated security paradigm, critically, which means the sergeant at arms security personnel must be equipped with new, broader skill set. And this is not about investing in people who protect this institution. I mean, this is not about upgrading the infrastructure, but training, investing in training of the sergeant at arms. The people who are involved, we can put all the best infrastructures, all the best cameras, all the best computers that they can be, but we need the skills of human beings. And this is what I'm saying. We need on how to invest on sergeant at arms who protect these institutions through rigorous, modernized training. Again, we need to recalibrate the security mandate. We need to develop a dedicated framework that distinguishes parliamentary security from general policing. I don't know whether you have understood me there. These are proposals we are making, that there is need for a dedicated registrative, when I say registrative here, sorry, I missed the word sergeant at arms. We need a dedicated sergeant at arms protection framework And when I talk about framework here, I'm talking about legal framework that distinguishes parliamentary security from general policing. Remember what the Speaker Emeritus talked about yesterday. The policeman has no powers in that space of the parliament. He cannot arrest an MP. But the question is, do you have the powers? What if the guy has behaved in, is causing threat to others? What happens? Do you have the powers? Who guards the guardian? Then there's an aspect of enhancing intelligence and risk assessment. Now, here, I don't want to call it intelligence, but because I'm a military person, you'll allow me, I would call it information. I know even in UN, we use information, not intelligence, because intelligence has a bigger connotation, and it is oriented to the military. So let's use the word information, enhancing information and risk assessment, where we're looking at, we need to establish a dedicated register. What I mean by this is, in 2024, although these guys were protesting and we did not have a way of communicating with them or even negotiating or mediating with them, we would have had people to tell us, this is where they are, and they are coming. They are this number of kilometers away from the parliament. You guys prepare. They might break into the parliament. From what they are saying, this is what they are saying, they are likely to get into the parliament. Tell the MPs, because you secure the people inside there, you secure information. You secure, in fact, it was an impromptu thing. It has never happened before. Normally in the military we say we provide security in depth. When you say we provide security in depth, we normally say there is normally the inner core, and I use the National Assembly. If you look at the inner core of what is inside there, the people, the infrastructures, the computers, everybody who is in there, very key. That is the inner core of the parliament. Look at the parliament perimeter fence. It is a second defense line. But you need to have a third defense line where you gather information. Who is out there? Whom for? With information gathering, it will be possible for you to know, to have a early warning in this aspect. So, again, we need to institutionalize public engagement. Now, yesterday you had also the Speaker Emeritus talk about getting involved with the society. And I think a question was also put across by a doctor who was talking about the issues of psychology. The issues of psychology, of do we have an impact of the institutions around whether the society can be able to identify itself with that institution? Do they know what happens in there? We are in Lanet, National Defense University, headquarters in Lanet. But how does Lanet people of Nakuru, how do they view us as an institution? Do we have any impact on them? This is the thing. In a way, and I'll borrow from where I'm coming from. You have heard whenever by sharing the little medicine that the unit has been given, or by providing water. I know I've been involved in Kajiado training troops there for many years. And every time I will go there, my water bowser would provide water even to the animal, not only people. It would provide water to the people. When assuming we had not gotten closer to them, what happens? We need to think about that. Now, again, we need to think about accountability and oversight mechanism to formulate, by formulating a robust accountability framework, that the sergeant at arms must establish transparent protocols for use of force during protest. Remember what I talked about, the legal framework, with clear reporting lines to oversight the body. Now, allow me to talk about this policy-oriented recommendation to future-proof the sergeant at arms function. And here I'm looking at technological crisis preparedness, where we are talking about dedicated digital threat monitoring units, and we are looking at also the aspects of clear protocols distinguishing legitimate threat detection from unlawful surveillance. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, we have youngsters, and whenever they are moving around with their phones, they go taking selfies, you know, and it has become very norm. It has become a norm to our youngsters. But can you differentiate between a youngster who is taking a selfie and a person who is surveying the parliament or the legislative institution? And imminent threat at that moment to the institution or to people or property that is inside there? This is the question we are putting across. Now, on social crisis management, we are looking at developing civil society liaison competencies within the Sergeant at Arms Office that enables early warning, detecting, or being able to identify or to get early warning through sustained civil engagement, rather than reactive fortification war, which runs on the miles and miles. Guess what? History tells us that when this fortification was built and it was complete, and they said, now we can relax. 1 month, people are inside, and the whole dynasty was cleared. The same one that built that war. We need to know what they're thinking. We need to know they need to know what we are thinking and what we are doing, and we can influence how they think about us. Again, we need to institutionalize human rights compliance, crowd management protocols, because this is a new aspect. Remember, the protest rendered the traditional negotiation frameworks obsolete. As I said, there was nobody to negotiate with. Now, I had one person talk about, I think it's one of the registrators, talk about we need to condone the parliament by having, a no-go zone 100 meters away from the, think twice about that. Because there's likely of exacerbating citizen registrature alienation. And this, very likely, is exactly what one of the causes, if not the real one, that brought out the issue of Gen Z protest. Now, we need to think about also the political crisis framework, where we say you need to seek statutorily protected operational independence for the sergeant at arms with clear escalation protocols distinguishing routine protests management from national security threats. If you can be able to distinguish these two, and then there are mechanisms on how you can deal with it, then the better for you. And this is where you might require forces. You must have a way in which you can interlink with these security forces, because you can be able to identify this is a catastrophe that is likely to happen. So I need help. There are mechanisms. So we need to think through that. Again, we need to establish a dedicated administrative security fund. Here we are talking about if you guys had an institution that flows from the National Assembly, the Senate, to the counties. I was trying to 47 counties with the two national legislative houses, and I was seeing, hey, this is a big force. And what came to my mind was when we were formulating the Constitution, 2010, institutions were told, bring your issues, how you want them captured in the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution is the basic framework or the basic law of the country. But one institution was left out. Very learned, very educated, but they were left out. Who was to think for them? I'm a soldier, I'm not a doctor. You are a sergeant at arms, you are not a doctor. What happened? They were told this is the law. And I remember one of the lawyers in one morning comment in the TV saying, you guys who pretended to be very learned, very educated, why did you come and articulate your issues to be the Constitution so that you have a big body that deals with issues of health nationwide? Now, look at it from that aspect and look at it has grown 47 times. Is it 47 or 46? Because now we have registered the Senate. The Senate was not there. Yeah? So from the National Assembly now to Senate and 47, from the National Assembly now to Senate and 47 counties. has been sent by the governor to come and do his job. Are you getting that? So if you have that mandate, you have the legal framework that supports you, and there is an authority that really sees how the doctrine, the protocols, the standards, and the norms are supposed to be executed, then there you are. You'll be protected in one way or another. And nobody will come and tell you, oh, I've been sent. Who are you? Do you know even how Sergeant at Arms works? Have you ever been trained as one? Who are you? You have heard when some civilians cross over into the military camps in military uniform, you have heard what happens. They are arrested immediately. And by the time they reach the police, nobody thinks of coming back. By the time they reach the police, by the way, what happens is that whatever he goes through, he will tell you, and he will never tell anybody. I was here in Bakassi some times back, training there, and a guy came with a beret and uniform, but the uniform was British. And a soldier noted very fast, he has the rank of a captain. He goes to the shop and does shopping, but the soldier follows the guy, and he sees whenever he is saluted by the soldiers, the guy is not responding. So he says, I've never seen this guy. What is his insignia? You know, every unit has got its own insignia. 7th Care, 5th Care, Air Force, Navy, they all have different insignia, and you can be able to tell. But these guys were picked. Within no minute, he was in the hands of those guys called military police. Ask him whether he can dare enter. When he was taken out, taken to wherever, went to court, and a general calls, commander calls and says, release the guy. He was enjoying the uniform. He was released, but ask him whether he can get. And the NUK, where the CPST is going to provide the specialized knowledge on parliamentary procedures, protocols, and unique registration procedures, protocols, and unique registration, legislative environment, procedures, protocols, and unique registration, legislative environment. And the NUK brings in its robust academic infrastructure. Okay, the issues of quality assurance mechanisms will come in, but remember the university does not go with the Kenya National Quality, Kenya National, what do you call it, Quality Authority. We normally fall under Commission of University Education that accredits our programs. Now, the key benefits here, the partnership is more than just training. It's about professionalizing a critical function within our parliamentary democracy by combining the CPST's unique understanding of the parliamentary environment with NUK's academic and accreditation authority. And therefore, we aim to build a world-class cadre of Sergeant at Arms. And when I talk about world cadre, Kenya has always been the first to think about issues in this region. NDC, let me go lower, KMA, Kenya Military Academy, although it is started during those colonial era, it has been used by the regional countries all through. Today, we have people coming from all over the world. JCSC, Joint Command and Staff College, it used to be called DSC for those who know. Today, it is a regional center in the whole of Africa, and now it has gone to Asia and Europe. We have British, we have Germans, you know, who are training here. We have Indians, we have Nepalese, we have Bangladesh, we have Malaysians, you know, they are training here. What does that tell you? We were the first to start Defense Staff College. Today is Joint Command and Staff College. National Defense College. It was the first, has advanced beyond that of South Africa. It has advanced beyond that of Nigeria. It's advanced beyond that of Egypt. We have nationals from across the board. then why can't we also build one, a Serjeant at Arms institution? That can be a referral to the whole of Africa. It is possible. The first one is a tiered one, where we are looking at the pathway that allows an officer to start with a certificate and progress all the way to a degree. We have the institution like IPSTC that offers certificates. We have institution like KMA where we extract some kind of a curriculum to bring out a paramilitary training. And I give you an example of KRA that we trained their people the other day. We had to take them to RTS, and that was the program, the curriculum was made. Then second, we have a rigorous accreditation process by NUK training program. Sorry for that typo. Did I say program with a W? No, sorry. Which guarantees the value of this qualification, that is, because the university's programs are accredited all by the Commission of University Education. And finally, we have a procedure of formalizing this true memorandum of understanding to ensure a sustainable and effective achievement of what we are looking for. So these are the three pillars that we are looking at. Now, what is the way forward? We are proposing that there need to be a collaboration that offers structured pathways for professionalizing Sergeant at Arms security training as a single entity for registration institution security services, and a specific framework and a budgetary allocation. In so many words, this is all what I was bringing to. The pathways will ensure a sustained investment in capacity building, strengthened information protocols by partisan cooperation, and expanded partnerships. In conclusion, allow me to say that Parliament and county assemblies are constitutionally mandated, strategically vital actors in the Kenyan security architecture, and on the aspect of emerging threats. Of course, the incidents of the past year have laid bare the vulnerabilities of the Parliament institution, from physical breaches to cyber interference. Key to note here is that threat landscape is complex and borderless. Remember the recruitment of youngsters to go and fight for Russia in Ukraine. Do we have a legal framework that controls that? The Parliament has to think about it, and you know that. And therefore, making a call for an integrated legislative security institution paradigm, which means the Sergeant at Arms personnel skill sets in a futuristic national outlook. Thank you very much, guys, for listening to me. Have you heard me? I think I will leave it now to the moderator on this aspect, but I had some few, of course, I have to ride on the shoulders of the giants. So whatever I'm talking about, I must ground it somewhere. So I had references there. So yes, thank you very much for listening to me once more.
Thank you so much, Brigadier. Another handful clap for our presenter. Yes, that was indeed very insightful. And I think the onus is on our side to pursue what has been proposed. We've been given the recommendation, a very good thing. And I think we've seen it in terms of the threats that we face. Is finished with a parting shot that the threat landscape is complex and evolving daily. You could secure your institution, put all the best CCTVs, put the best gate, put the best soldiers on or sergeant at arms on the ground, but still the threat will still be there. Yesterday we were given a sneak preview on how the digital threats actually affect our institutions on a daily basis. Yeah, because you can still be breached even with the best perimeter fence. So how do we move forward, going forward? So as Sergeant at Arms, we have to move from traditional now to the modern Sergeant at Arms, whereby we can be able to deal with all these kinds of threats. Let me not dilute it further. Allow me to invite Major Sorobit to take it from there, and then we will call our second panelist. Welcome. Let's clap for him as he takes the stage.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. I'd wish to contextualize the presentation. I must congratulate Brigadier for the submissions he's made this morning. My role will be to contextualize to fit the legislative institutions and navigate some of the issues that were raised and bring back some of the things that we discussed yesterday. It has been rightly put that the strategic positioning of Parliament and county assemblies within the national security theatre is defined by their constitutional mandate as guardians of the Constitution, as an oversight body and a facilitator for institutional resilience. That in effect launches us to an area where security is a dual use, where technology serves both as a shield and a weapon. And we were informed about that yesterday. And our institution must therefore evolve from a traditional physical security model towards integrated adaptive frameworks. And the paradigm that has been talked about must shift. And therefore, the emerging and evolving security threats that face legislative institutions, in my view, and they have been talked to, maybe 5 of them, but I'll speak about 3. Kenya, as we all know, faces a complex and dynamic threat landscape, which has been alluded to earlier, that is beyond physical incursion, but now digital and, most importantly, psychological. And we will experience that in the coming year, where a greater presence of misinformation, disinformation, and deepfakes, where there is use of synthetic media to impersonate members and spread misinformation aimed at inciting social disruption or undermining the dignity of the legislative institutions for different gains. The other is data exploitation, where the breach of critical legislative records, here read Hansard, biometric registers, which can be analyzed by AI-powered systems to compromise national interest. And we saw yesterday that an attack of 1 will mean an attack of 2, attack of 3, and subsequently attack of the village, an attack of the community, an attack of the country. And therefore, being aware that these systems can be compromised is important to be prepared because some of these have become transnational and asymmetric in nature, because continued risks from traditional threats like terrorism, violent extremism, and regional instability, exacerbated by geopolitical shifts. The problems in the Middle East, the problems in Russia, hit home much more than we know. And therefore, we need to consider what happens to our border counties. That some of these activities happen, Marsabit, Wajir, Mandera, Garissa, and Narok, you are not comfortable. There are threats from the south, Taita Taveta, Kwale, Busia, West Pokot, and Migori face similar challenges. And we saw a while back during the constitutional amendment proposal by Senator Cherargei, the youth that were involved and part of civil society, we suspect, were involved in putting down the email of the clerk of the Senate. And therefore, we must be aware that some of these risks are closer home than we think. And what do we do about the institutional resilience and crisis management? It is important that the ability to anticipate, withstand and adapt to and recover from disruptions while ensuring continuity of business must be the mandate of the legislative institution. And that rests very well with the colleagues in the House. And therefore, we must facilitate building up of robust systems that lead into physical security to protect the precincts from hybrid attacks. And that is ring-fencing some of the IT systems and communication infrastructure. For example, the adaptive capacity and the ability for folks in the House and other legislative staff to evolve the technologies and probably seek into having an integrated digital security ecosystem. The National Parliament has gone a step further in this by making sure that the integrated security management system, I hope Major Majiba is here to speak to it later, is off any system that is external. Everything is internal, including its servers. But we know that what happens in Iran was out of a system that was internal, compromised by a few cameras within Tehran. Israel intelligence system breached those 2 cameras and are able to get to the entire cameras that were in the Republic, courtesy of only those few cameras, not more than 10. And you can imagine the effect that we see now. So the other matter is proactive crisis protocols. We know we face crises every time as arising from legislative tensions. So what do? We have to be smart. We have to be smart in addressing them and infuse technology into this, including having sensors rather than using traditional systems. And therefore, we need to look at the strategic importance of the legislative institutions in national security theater. And this, I'll start with the national parliament, where there is a constitutional requirement for parliament to approve deployment of national security organs for assignments, either locally or regionally or internationally. And we've seen the deployment to Haiti, to Sudan, to Congo and the rest of the parts of the region, and also internally to support civil authority. And we experience this. There is North Rift deployment of KDF, a disaster response within Nairobi County, City County, and the 256 experience. And more recently, during the laying in state of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, were it not for the KDF, Parliament would have been breached the second time. And therefore, it's important that we expand some of these collaborations. And therefore, Parliament and county assemblies serve as a cornerstone, in my view, for Kenya's grand strategy through use of unique constitutional mandates. One is a lawmaking, where we've seen the security amendment laws with its tensions, Pokalma, and many others. The legislative oversight that has been spoken about, where the Senate at national level and National Assembly provide critical oversight to security agencies, ensuring national defense, intelligence, foreign policy to align to constitutional values and human rights. And I would cite an incident where the National Assembly, then as a unicameral, had a visit to a UN mission in Sierra Leone to undertake an inquiry about how the mission was treating the Kenyan contingent, because the Republic felt that the UN was not providing the necessary support to the Kenyan contingent, and it was led by the then Honorable Musila. There is a matter of county level security integration, where the national functions are feed into the county functions through the county policing authority, which now the county assembly plays a critical part in making sure that the executive at the county level adhere to the legal requirements that would require to monitor crime trends and prioritize security objectives at the county level. And a case in point is the development of the county action plans by the National Counterterrorism Center that developed national county counterterrorism plans that are now embedded in the county. And that has been successfully localized as a national strategy for facilitating development of the 47 county action plans. These are some of the bottom-up blueprints for preventing and countering violent extremism at local levels. But we must shift that to make sure that we have a response to the security paradigm that redefines legislative security and broaden the skills of sergeant-at-arms through rigorous capacity building. As we do that, we need, as alluded earlier, recalibrate legislative protective framework to ensure that we protect legislative institutions. Lastly is management of the national resource basket. We know that the legislatures are the primary appropriation tool for both the county and the national government, and therefore we sit square in this role. And let me now examine the training pathways, accreditation, and institutional partnerships. Professionalizing the security function in the legislature require high-level academic partnership. And it's important that we have NDU in the House today, because it is the only institution in the Republic now that can accredit paramilitary programs, and you can be certified with it, unlike other institutions. The National Police Service have made an attempt, but I think through the academy, they are slowly getting into that space. And therefore, I seek that we exploit this opportunity to make sure that the partnership with Parliament through NDUK and National Defense College with CPST endures, because they've conducted capacity building workshops for legislators and senior military leadership, particularly Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations. And therefore, we propose a tiered pathway from certification to postgraduate with a core delivery model, which first is strategic leadership programs equipping sergeant-at-arms and senior officials with postgraduate training from NDUK to foster, in my view, whole of government approach to capacity building and security in itself. And secondly, short courses and certification programs that develop specialized modules, as indicated earlier, to understand adversarial systems, particularly AI and cybersecurity, to upskill sergeant-at-arms in a digital, physical, hybrid environments that threaten legislative institutions. Thirdly, research collaboration, and this should have come earlier, to leverage from the research through the Center for Security and Strategic Studies, and thankfully the Director Research and Innovation is in the House, for NDUK joint legislative institution joint research on emerging threats to legislative independence and procedural integrity, and most importantly, democratic governance. Finally, I seek to propose that we have incubated professional recognition with a first approach beginning with a professional charter and culminating in a legal instrument to standardize qualification ethics through NDUK supported continuing professional development, and coupled with capstone programs to reinforce Sergeant at Arms operational doctrine to a world-class Sergeant at Arms. I thank you.
Another round of applause for Major Sorobit. Yeah, I think we are getting it. Let me invite our second panelist, Colonel Retired Dr. Anda. Welcome. Let's clap for him as he takes the stage. Yeah, prepare your questions. Once they are done, then we go into question time.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to submit that it's not easy to comment or give you a perspective, especially after the gurus have spoken before you. I want to also say that the pecking order for this program was skewed. It was put upside down. Ordinarily in the military, as most of you know, you'll hardly comment on what your boss has said. So essentially, it's me who should have given the presentation, then the boss would have commented. But this is academic, so I'll bear with it. Thank you very much and welcome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have been treated to a lot of information regarding strategic security achievement for Parliament, and by extension by the Sergeant at Arms Department. We have seen the paces that we need to go through to get to the end state. And we have also seen who should be playing ball in this regard. So I'm going to very briefly and deliberately also comment on certain things that require to be attended to get to where we want. You'll agree with me that if you want to manage anything, you must start by knowing what it is. Okay? And in this regard, talking about security, we start from the premise that we know what security is. That assumption can be very dangerous because quite a number of people do not seem to define security in a similar manner. People look at it differently, but that's not even enough. What is bothering now is what goes into making a certain environment insecure. Looking at Kenya today, we see that there are very many spoilers of security, quite many. The old ones still persist, new ones are coming on stage, and that bit we know. And security will always be a problem if it's not seen in the same lens. So what do we do to have a similar understanding of security? And this calls for training, okay? It calls for training. training will make us see security and insecurity in one or less the same lens. So I'm forging for training. Training of all involved in security matters. If Sergeant at Arms can train, and the people they are securing are not trained, that is not comprehensive enough. So this training should not just look at the Sergeant at Arms, but also those that are being secured need also to undergo a bit of training so that we levelize the stage. So our clients, we realized when we were in National Defense College then that our clients who are the MPs and the Foreign Affairs Committee, nowadays they undergo training just to get to know what security is all about and what it means to secure Kenya. That's very important. But this training needs to be done over and over again for every other group that comes on board needs to be trained in that regard. Now, talking about training, there are many reasons why people train. I know some train because they want to improve their social status. Others train because they have been sent to train. And much more, others train because of the need to be promoted, to professionalize. Irrespective of which reason takes you to training, I think training is important. It's important, very important. But training calls for dedication. It calls for resourcing. It calls for organized locally or internationally. So let's go to institutions that have what it takes to train you. And these institutions exist in Kenya. They are accredited by the accrediting bodies like the Commission for University Education. And they certify those who have trained. I think that is the path to use. You can be trained at whatever level you enter into a system. Okay? But we also know that there are some institutions that may, in trying to train you, become a stumbling block, so that you will be forever a trainer, you get, huh? You spend more time than you anticipated to train. That should also be considered when you're choosing which institution you're going to train in, because it's important. Training costs money, takes time. I want to just argue that today there are quite a number of universities, there are quite a number of colleges in the country that may train some of you. If you are in a hurry to train, you can pay for it. If you wait to be trained by the employer, you may have to wait in the queue. So decide also. I think I'm speaking to everybody, isn't it? So you may decide to do it by yourself. For whatever reason, do it by yourself or wait to be nominated to go for training. But you never know which number you are in the queue. That could stand in your way of progression. So be careful as you decide also. Now, why is Parliament so significant in matters security? And would there be a problem if Parliament, say, did not participate in making Kenya strategically secure? There are very many reasons why Parliament must play ball in matters of strategic security for Kenya. That one goes without saying. What is not clear in most of us minds is that we fail to ask what would happen if they decided not to. Many things would happen, and among them would be they may now give leeway to the executive arm to do what it wants. And therefore, they will have failed in the mandate of representation. So they must play ball. If they don't, then we must hold them at ransom, because that is their responsibility. If they don't do that, things will be done at the executive level to the exclusion, and they will not be representing the people. I don't know whether they all know that. I want to assume they know. That's one reason why they should be at the forefront, trying to make sure that all is well in matters strategic security for the nation. Now, they are also supposed to do it because it's their responsibility. Yeah. They're elected to do that. So they have to do it. If they don't, we recall them. So they have to be in the forefront of ensuring that all is secure. And that's why they are responsible for even authorizing deployments that my senior was talking about. You see, if we must send our troops out of the country, Parliament must okay. They may okay before the troops are sent, or may do it belatedly, the way it was done for Somalia and the way it was done for Haiti. You can do it what we call regressively or retrogressively. So you do it after the action has been done. But whichever way they do it, it's important that they do it, because committing soldiers to any security venture costs money. And the money comes from your pockets, from your taxes. And if your taxes must be used in whichever manner, deployment inside and outside being one of them, then you must authorize that. And it can only be done when your MP speaks on your behalf. That's why they participate in that exercise. So, but there's a danger here. If we allow the parliamentarians to have the leeway to decide whether we should participate in this or that, it may create what we call academically a securitization challenge or securitization problem. Securitization is when elected people, the elite of society, would decide to identify something as an existential problem, and then they look